Attention prayer. Attention prayer, and we pray. Surely I am being turned to thee, O Allah, being upright to he who originated the heavens and the earth, and I am not of the polytheists. Surely my prayer, my sacrifice, my life, and my death are all for Allah, the Lord of the worlds, no associate as he. This is my command, that I am of those who submit. O Allah, thou art the king, and there is no God but thee. Thou art my Lord, I am thy servant. I have been greatly unjust to myself, and I confess my faults. So grant me protection against my faults, Allah, for none grants protection against faults except thee. Turn away from me the evil and indecent morals, for none can turn away from me the evil and indecent morals but thee. But guide me, O Allah, to the best of morals, for none guides to the best of morals but thee. Ameen. Right, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah, and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is the first begotten of the dead, and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is the first fruit of them that slept. And we are the chosen people of the universe. Allah is our God. We are his people. And we ask Allah to bless us with the beingness to be able to be the God that he has proclaimed and declared us to be. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum. All right, so we continue with our definitions of Scientology. And as we've been doing, we start off with the last definition that we were going over with, and then we go from there. And I think the last one we were dealing with, or the one we would start with, is number 8, the study of the human spirit in its relationship to the physical universe and its living forms. And that goes back to something we were saying earlier today about the Philadelphia doctorate course. And that's one course I got to get back into it. I got to a certain point in that particular course, and it gave me a question about the axioms. Brother Lukeman came in right on time. But anyway, I was thinking about I was talking about me studying the Philadelphia doctorate course, and I think I was on lecture 25, and then there was something that kind of hung me up and threw me to the axioms. And when I talked to I have a consultant who is an OT. Actually, I got 2 consultants. One of them is OT3, and the other one is OT8. And the OT8 is actually a class 12 auditor, which if you look at the bridge, that's the highest auditor that you can get in the Church of Scientology. Matter of fact, Belinda and I were exposed to 2 class 12 auditors. But anyway, he put me on this, I had a question about the axiom. So he said that the most complete explanation of the axioms he thought, or the best explanation, was in the Phoenix lectures, where he don't just give you the axiom. He goes axiom by axiom, and then he gives a commentary. And one of when he starts talking about the first axiom, it says life is a static. And life is a static. And so here in definition number 8 from the technical dictionary, said Scientology is the study of the human spirit in its relationship to the physical universe and its living form. So we can tie all of that in to postulates, because a postulate really represents the relationship between the spirit and the physical universe. You have the spirit, which is represented in the universe. See, the place of the spirit in the universe is 0. See, and infinity at the same time, but it has the ability to postulate, and it has the ability to have opinions. And so that is the relationship, is that you have something that is essentially beyond matter, energy, space, and time, but is able to impose its will on matter, energy, space, and time. And that's exactly what God does. That's exactly what Kun Fayakun is. He says be, and it is. So Allah has the relationship with the physical universe, which is his creation. He created it to do what he wanted to do. So his relationship, where he has the most intimate of relationships. And in the physical universe, you have this thing called affinity, reality, and communication. And this is the interface between static and messed matter, energy, space, and time. And so when you start transcending from the totally spiritual realm, which is just about irrelevant, because that's just spirit. Nothing becomes real until it gets in the physical universe. You got to be able to see it, touch it, feel it, before it can really register as a perception. Okay, so Scientology and Islam. So Islam is a study of that same relationship, howbeit from a different perspective. And I think that was something that Brother Montgomery was talking about, that he pointed out today. He's on the phone. He can speak for himself. But what we are trying to do is shift our perspective, because oftentimes it is the perspective that allows us to be able to correctly and most optimally perceive something, you see. And so Kun Fayakun, that is a description of Allah's relationship to the universe, to the physical universe. He only say be, and it is. So Scientology gives us a little bit of finer perspective of this by giving us or explaining to us the mechanism by which this be and it is can take place and be a reality. That's ain't that neat? You know, and it's simple. It's simple, maybe not as easy as it is simple, but it's easy and it's simple, but you have to have patience and you have to approach these postulates with a calmness of mind, which is another thing we talked about a little bit earlier. You have to be able to tolerate some uneasiness, Sister Tina, you know. And see, once we kind of get these concepts and are able to melt them together as one, we get a picture of how our Father, which art in heaven, and heaven is really depicted in many cases as a place of serenity. You know, talking about he leads me beside the still water. He's in gardens where rivers flow, sitting on raised couches, drinking cups of camphor and menthol. So it's the study of the human spirit. So you study the spirit. So what are the attributes of the spirit? The attributes of the spirit are affinity, reality, and communication. Because outside of the physical realm, the spirit don't have a whole lot of relevance. That's why we are so blessed with the knowledge that God is a man, because God as a spook is no relevance. There's no stable datum as Mr. Hubbard talks about. So you need a stable datum to solve any problem, to solve any confusion. What is confusion? Confusion is a state where there is no immediate answer, no immediate solution. See, so in order to, it's chaos. So in order to deal with a confusion, the first aspect is to latch on to a stable datum where we have given the example of, if you take a piece of paper and cut it up into 100 pieces and ball it up in your hand, and then you throw that piece of paper up and it comes down like confetti, then what you see is sort of a confusion. You see a sort of chaos. But if you take that same, if you gather the paper back up and then you take one piece of the paper and then you spray paint it red and you throw it up again, and when it comes down and then you see that red piece of paper, now you've got the first step of coming out of that confusion, because you've got something to focus your mind on. So is it now with the coming of God in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. You have a world of confusion which cannot rely on a spook God, because a spook God cannot be a stable datum. A stable datum is pretty much a reference point by which you latch on to the stable datum. All right? So it's the study of the human spirit and its relationship to the physical universe. Is that not what we studying in Islam? That Allah came in the person, the Thetan, the soul of Allah, the person of Allah, the self of Allah, appeared in the person of a man, and his relationship that he's a man, and how this static, this spirit, this soul interacts with matter, energy, space, and time. And we are taught that what causes rain, hail, snow, and earthquake. The above is caused by the Son of Man. When you hear thunder, that's the Son of Man experiment with high explosives. It's a relationship of the spirit, this spirit that is the Ancient of Days. When we say the Ancient of Days, we're talking about this spirit have been around ever since that was day and night. Day and night, that's the time when you had a sun and then you had an earth that was revolving. So do we have something in the teachings that say how old the earth is? I don't think there's anything specifically that talks about the age of the earth. I imagine it's got to be as old as the universe. But I just never heard any specific teachings. If anybody has anything on that, I would be interested in checking it out. So I'm just saying all that to say this, is that, Islam and Scientology, that would go with the fundamentals again, Brother Lukman. That Islam is the fundamental and Scientology is the harmonic, and it is the partial. So it is part of Islam. And even if it is a harmonic, when you in harmony, well, then that's what you're trying to do when you submit to the will of God. You're trying to achieve a certain harmony with him. Now, let me see if in fact I need to get this thing to where I can put two of these definitions up at one time. I'm thinking right now, that's 235, 236. I'm sorry. The word that that I just mentioned, I'm wondering, does he have this in the dictionary? Harmonic. And that's another one of those scientific terms, Brother Wadud. So you got harmonics. And you can use that in harmonics, you use that in music, you use that in physics. I don't see it in there. Even in science fiction. In science fiction, when you have the Klingons and in Star Trek, their force field is produced by harmonics. Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
A lot have put us on some heavyweight stuff here, man. You know, it's beautiful. I would have never, I would have never thunk it. when we first got into when I first heard the minister talk about Dianetics, I never thought it would be like this. I mean, this is blowing my mind. You know what little of it I got left, brother Luke, man. Go ahead, brother.
Assalamu alaikum, family.
Walaikum salam, sir.
When one time the minister had spoken about we would come in contact with people that would teach us into the new sciences and even the peaceful application of the atom, I've always wondered if it was tied in with this, since L. Ron Hubbard's background was actually in quantum physics.
Well, actually, one of his titles was nuclear scientist. Mm-hmm. Nuclear scientist. So, of course, a nuclear scientist deals with the atom, and I don't know if you heard because I know I've mentioned most of this stuff. I've mentioned at least once or twice that L. Ron Hubbard was a part of a contingency that actually developed the atom bomb. Well, they did not develop the atom bomb, but they developed the technology that led to the creation of the atom bomb. And it was he, and I forgot what university, but it's in some of those courses. He talks about it, that he was on a team with Albert Einstein. And he was saying that when Einstein had discovered that they had used the technology from, extracted from their research to create this bomb, this atomic bomb, that he was ready to try and overthrow the government of America. He said, but L. Ron Hubbard was one of the cooler heads and was kind of able to stave off such a thing. But see, this whole perspective, Brother Montgomery, this whole perspective is the perspective of a nuclear a nuclear scientist or nuclear engineer. All right. Yes, and nuclear physics scientist. And so when you're talking about the nuclear, the atomic bomb and the atoms, and then when you are looking physically at an atom, which is the smallest particle of an element that we can see now, when you're looking at this, then so you've got a different perspective. See, now you can look at your hand right in front of you. You can't see no atoms. But if you put the hand, I imagine, under an electron microscope, now you can see the atoms in your hand, which is a perspective that is almost totally different than you just looking at your hand with the naked eye. And so many of the angles and the perspectives that Mr. Hubbard offers to us in his book, in his scriptures, you follow what I'm saying, have the perspective of this ultra hyper sensitive microscope, akin to the electron microscope. I hope I ain't getting too far out there.
Oh, you're not.
Oh, all right.
Still talking Islam.
That's right. That's the point. That's
Can't get out of that.
That's the whole point, because if you see it, it's Allah's. If you don't see it, Allah, it's Allah's. Allah is the Lord of the seen and the unseen.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, brother Wadu.
Yes, sir. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum
Sir.
As you are speaking on harmonic, I'm thinking maybe another word that you may check for inside of the dictionary would be phases, because harmonics often makes me think of frequency, which we've discussed. And frequency, one of the patterns that's most depicted on frequency is a sine wave. Wavelength and frequency is depicted with the sine wave. And then there are phases of that sine wave, speaking from such as an electrical perspective. Then we have different phases on an electrical panel, but they have to be in harmony. They have to be in sync with one another. And you don't want to cross phases. And thinking of that scientific or science fiction reference, I thought about the Ghostbusters, where they had their electron ray and they said, don't cross the phases. So there's something to do with the frequency and phases and the harmonics that all interplay in that. My last comment is in respect of the atom, and all physical matter is composed of atoms of some type or another. So that's also something that just came to mind.
Praise be to Allah. Yeah, it's deep. And I'm just saying this, and I'm staying on it for a little while, because I just really want us to dig in. I want to rub this thing in. You want to rub it in so that we can not just develop knowledge of it, but we want to develop a concept. And this is what training is about. Training helps you to develop a concept. In Brother Lukeman's field with the fire, dealing with the fires and extinguishing fires, he has a certain amount of training. You have to train hard so that when you are in an actual fire, you don't have to think about what you're doing. Because you take a minute to think and you can be burned up. You have to learn how to, you have to be trained to the level of to the point where your response is spontaneous. It's automatically, it's precise. That happened when I was playing with the group Parliament about 20 so years ago.
Really?
Don't worry, brother. I didn't wear a diaper.
No, that's I grew up on Parliament Funkadelic, brother. I can sing the whole album and don't miss a word.
Yeah. So well, when I was I did a little stint with them 1998, a little bit of 1999, and just off and on,
Yes,
after that. But we used to practice from 9 to 5. We start practicing in the morning at 9. We take an hour off for lunch, and we finish practicing typically around 5 o'clock. Wow. We did this for about 3 months. Wow. And when this particular edition of P-Funk hit the stage, you didn't even have to think about it. See? And so this is the value of training. This is the value of drilling. And I always think in terms of what we say about the scout ships have a bomb that drills down a mile into the earth, representing your mind. And when it drills down into your mind, it brings up a mountain.
Mm-hmm.
And the perspective of a mountain is the perspective of wisdom. It is the perspective of a throne. And I remember Sister Jacqueline asking one time about the what does it mean when it talks about the water, the throne on water. So you have, it's the water is the knowledge, and the throne is the perspective that you are on. You're looking down on the water. You are the master of knowledge. So Scientology is the study of the human spirit and its relationship to the physical universe and its living forms. I would say we have gotten a little juice out of that meeting today, huh? By Allah's grace. Let's move on. 9, number 9, Scientology. And then I'm going to use Islam interchangeably, because this is what we are doing. This is what the minister asked us to do. He said to go and get that knowledge and put it in the, the language of Islam. So he said it's a science of life. Islam is a science of life. And then we asked some weeks ago, well, then the Scientology is based on science. What is science? And we discovered so much that we have such a tendency as Black people, especially in the nation. Because boy, you should hear some of our classes. And of course, you are in the classes yourself. When we have our FOR, and I'm sure MGT probably ain't too much different. How we start sciencing up stuff. But we have to be careful with that. And that's part of what we're going to be talking about, Brother Montgomery, because see, some of it we know, and then some of it we mocking up.
Right.
So we just have to be careful and just sort of tune our perception, tune our antennas to be able to distinguish between that which is fact and that facts and what facts are missing, are not yet confirmed. All right? But science is in the simple language that I got from the Phoenix lectures was that it is the study of effect. The study of effect. Mathematics is the measurement. Science is the study. So we oftentimes apply mathematics. So he said Islam is science and mathematics. So you measure, And then the measurement is the mathematics, and then the science is the study of the effect. What is the effect? Everything you see, everything in life. So Scientology is a study of life. Islam is a study of life. He said it is the one thing singular to life because it handles all the factors of life. So that goes back to the wisdom component of Scientology. Because wisdom allows you to evaluate or handle, if you will, all other knowledge. All right. It contains the data necessary to live as a free being. A reality in Scientoloa is a reality on life. And what are we taught by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan about our God, Allah, about his reality? What are we taught about his reality?
Only reality.
It is the only reality. Contains the data necessary to live as a free being. So we have data that covers the mind. We are taught about the analytical mind, the thinking mind. We're taught about the reactive mind. We are taught about the components of the mind, the components of the reactive mind, where you have locks, secondaries or painful emotion engrams, and then you have engrams themselves. So this is data that is really necessary. Not that you got to get this from Scientology, because Mr. Hubbard said that Scientology really is something that you already know. So you've been on this planet, you've been in existence for trillions and trillions of years. You ought to know something by now. But this incarnation, this body of knowledge got data that's necessary to live as a free being. We begin to study and understand some of the things that trap us as human beings. And part of that is, and I'm letting some of the cat out the bag, Brother Montgomery, but we're just gonna let him out. One of the traps is the trap of knowledge. And that's what we were talking about, the critical thinking. See, the trap of knowledge is, or one of the major traps of knowledge is that you can know something and you can know enough to think you know that which in fact you really don't know. You can know enough to think you know, but not know enough to really know. And oftentimes, when we think we know something, that which we don't know, well, then we'll just fudge it and we'll just mock up the rest. And this is one of the major things that we confronted with when we're trying to be clear. Is that in the scenario of our everyday thinking, we do a lot of measuring, and consequently we do a lot of judging, because there is an impulse, there is a urge to know. And sometimes if we don't know, unfortunately, we begin to make something up. Sister Tina, go ahead.
So that's how in the Holy Quran, how it can happen that they became divided after knowledge came to them.
Oh, that must. You're going to make me go somewhere and join the church.
Where's Sister Cheryl?
And see, that's just the tip of the iceberg. And like I say, I'm trying to develop this thing so I can present it to you in as palatable a form as possible. Brother Wadu, go ahead.
Yes, sir. I just wanted to bear witness that even in the so-called high sciences of medicine, mathematics of this world, we tend to round, R-O-U-N-D, round figures. They've come up with the significant places notion because there's not enough time, because man is created in haste. So there's not enough time to take that decimal point all the way to its conclusion to see what the result will be. We just say 2 significant places, 3 significant places, and just round it off right there and don't worry about the rest. It becomes insignificant, but it must have some significance because it's a part of the formula in the equation.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. That's right. My point and my sentiment, exactly. So my point is that Scientology contains the data necessary to live as a free being. Not that Islam doesn't, Islam does too, but Scientology presents it in such a way and from such a perspective as to make it more evident. You see how Sister Tina pulled that scripture out like that? And then plus we talk about our modern scripture. Our modern scripture from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, he said that thing about Black folks, he said, we don't know. And we don't know that we don't know. And don't want nobody to tell us anything. So that's a big factor. And then Mr. Hubbard comes back around and he says, the biggest obstacle to knowing is to think you know when you really don't know. when you think you know something that you don't really know. And so we take, they got that, we got that saying with black folks. We say, give the N word, get an N word an inch, and he'll take a mile. And so we have a tendency. But see, we have the data. The data is in the scripture. The scriptures is what he said. Well, first of all, it says simply, it said, man shouldn't think more of himself than they ought to. Another place in the Bible, it says that it asks the question, it says, can a man add 1 cubit to his height? So Scientology contains the data necessary to live as a free being, because he points out some of the impediments. It points out the effects of the reactive mind. It points out definitely in a mathematical way what happens, the chain of thought, emotion, and effort for all of your emotions, your lower emotions and your higher emotions. You can use this data when you categorize emotions on a mathematical index or mathematical scale. And when we understand that when you are less than a certain point on this scale, then your perspective becomes one of that is destructive to self and others. And then when you are above a certain demarcation on the scale, then you tend to be more supportive of life and survival to self and others. Then you are able to determine scientifically how these particular things contribute to civilization. And what is civilization? Civilization is simply a civilized person is a person that is agreeable to live in peace with. So your best civilizations are people that live in peace together. And the more and the greater their capacity to live in peace together, the higher the level of civilization. And this is one of the reasons why the Nation of Islam is so special, that through our structure that was given to us by God himself, he has structured this organization in a way where we can live together in peace. Now, it's not perfect, but you show me another group that does it better on a volunteer basis. Now, you got people to get along fine and all of them making a whole lot of money, but they got more incentive of this world to get together. But here we are, we come together in the name of Allah. You are the best nation, it says, that you enjoin good and that you forbid evil. That's a science of life, if you ask me. Any questions on that? On anything we talked about thus far? Brother Lukeman, go ahead, brother.
Now, I just wanted to elaborate real quick on a comment I think it was Sister Tina made about they didn't become divided until knowledge came to them. Surah 98 verse 4 says, they became divided, talked about, let me see if I can pull up the exact words. It says, nor did those to whom the book was given become divided till clear evidence came to them. And just the fact that that word in Arabic means to become clear, and then you have the division, and then that same concept trickling over into the nation where this information was presented and it caused a division within the ranks of the nation as well.
So go on with your electron microscope. That's very interesting there, because there is definitely a division, especially a division with us and the a lot of the Orthodox Muslims, and that whole thing is really interesting, if you ask me, when you start talking about the being divided because of knowledge. See, knowledge represents control. See, when you get knowledge, then you automatically get control. Whether you familiar with the KRC triangle or not, it don't depend. It don't depend on whether you understand what the KRC triangle is. And the KRC triangle, for those who need refreshing, is just it's similar to the ARC triangle. The ARC triangle is affinity, reality, and communication. And when one goes up, the others go up. When one comes down, the others come down. The KRC triangle it stands for knowledge, responsibility, and control. So whenever you get more knowledge, you got more control, but you got more responsibility. Go ahead, Brother Montgomery. You muted, beloved. So you got the hand up, but now you cut your voice off.
Yes, sir. I don't qualify as a nuclear scientist, and I don't try to gravitate towards heavier things. But different people say things, and then I see a connection with them. Brother Lukman said, we get clear on things, and then we come divided. And the thought that came to me was, is that a cycle? And then while I was thinking about that, I said, have we defined what the sun is? Fusion and, what do they call it? Fission and fusion and fission and fusion. That's a cycle, isn't it? That's energy. That's the thought that came to my mind.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to crack some atoms here.
Yes, sir.
By Allah. Okay. Any other we got about 5 minutes left, so we're gonna jump on this next one. Scientology or Islam. We're using them interchangeably, because that's the relevance of us dealing with Scientology, is that we can use it interchangeably. What do a Muslim got in the business messing with anything that ain't got nothing to do with Islam? Since Islam is the 98% submission to the will of Allah, 99%, it's 100%. So number 10, this is a body of knowledge which when properly used gives freedom and truth to the individual. And so, you know, when we go to the, especially when we went to the temples back in the 70s, and we saw the big blackboard says, which one will survive the war of Armageddon? And it had Christianity and Islam, and under Christianity, the flag of Christianity, the American flag, we got slavery, suffering, and death. And under the flag of Islam, we got freedom, justice, and equality. We're preaching the same thing. We're talking about truth. The Bible says, you shall know the truth, and the truth will make you free. And then some people interpret and they say the truth will set you free. We're talking about the same thing. This is just simply a body of knowledge that gives freedom and truth to the individual. It frees us from misconceptions of reality. So that's where the freedom and the truth kind of works together. It frees you from misconceptions of reality. Truth is, by definition, Mr. Hubbard said, it is the exact consideration. One definition that I have used, related definition of truth over the years, is that truth is that idea or that concept that aligns one with reality. Reality, when you talk about truth, you're talking about reality. And so the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us that Allah is the only reality. Okay. Any comments or questions on that? We're gonna close it. We're gonna sew it up right there. We want to thank everybody. Wa alaikum salam.
Sister Carol Asadi Muhammad. I just joined with you today as a guest of Sister Tina's.
Well, we are honored to have you, dear sister.
I'm honored to be amongst you. I really am. I have a question.
Hope I can answer.
You asked how old is the earth?
Yes.
And I heard Dr. Ava say that Allah created himself on, when he created himself, it was on earth, no other planet. And so we say, or it is written, that if we're judging the trillions of years, we know the sun goes back. He put the sun out there 76 trillion years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I hear some ministers say Allah created himself 78 trillion years ago. So would not the earth be about the same age, 78 trillion years?
It stands to reason. It stands to reason. I guess one of the reasons that I asked the question myself, I wanted to know if there had been some teaching, if someone was familiar with someone who had made such a statement as to the age of the earth. But that would make sense. And
her
yes,
statement is the closest I've heard.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. That's certainly worthy of consideration. And one thing about that Mr. Hubbard brings forth in his science is that you, if it's a workable answer, we we can accept it until or unless we find something that is more workable. But that makes the most sense that of what I have heard. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. And we're honored to have you once again. I hope that you will join us again.
Thank you. I intend to for sure, inshallah.
Inshallah. Brother Luqman.
Yes, sir. Just to give some supporting information for Sister Carol, Sister Ava did a lecture in Mas Mariam where she broke down and spoke about, she gave an explanation with regards to the triple darkness. And it was in that lecture where she spoke about triple darkness that she made the point about the earth, and that being the starting point of the universe. So if you can find that, I can't remember what the name of that lecture was.
Okay.
But it was Mas Mariam, and it was when she spoke about triple darkness.
Yeah, and I recall that. And I actually recall a recent reference to that. Yes, sir. All right, then. All right, scientists. Well,
Brother Jason put something in the chat regarding it.
You put something in the chat. How come you won't just chat with us, brother? Jason? Yeah, it says, and our Savior has arrived, but it does say that. It says what, Brother Jason?
It says Allah created. Assalamu alaikum, family. I'm somewhere where I can't really speak.
Oh, okay, I understand.
It says that Allah did create himself on the very earth we live on now, but it does say that the earth was not like it is today.
Right, okay. I can accept that. Okay. Well, all of this is very interesting and parts to the puzzle. But we're 4:03 now, and I promised that we would end in a timely manner. And I'd like to thank you all for your participation today. It's always enlightening, and it fulfills the scripture that says that wherever two or more are gathered in my name, there I am in the midst of thee. So thank you once again. And so what are we looking like tomorrow, brother? Luqman, are you having your class tomorrow?
I can't really say there'll be one tomorrow morning, not knowing how tonight's going to turn out. So God willing, the next one will be Sunday evening at 6 p.m.
Okay. All right. We didn't want to skip over you, brother. We make sure.
Thank you.
Make sure we put you out there in the middle of the road so somebody will run into something that'll be good for them. By Allah's grace.
Brother, we've been doing people running in stuff all day today. I don't need no one to run into anything else today.
By Allah. Yes, sir. All right, then. Well, we're gonna close this word clearing session. And man, this thing is something else. We spent a whole hour on 2 definitions of the same word. So that just shows the power, of this study that we are in. And I'm so grateful to be among those who value knowledge as you do. That see, you display a certain, just by coming on this call, you display a very high tone level. See, and we can talk about that sometime too. Go ahead, Sister Jacqueline.
Assalamu alaikum, family.
Walaikum salam.
Brother Barteen, I just want to take a few minutes just to thank you for taking your time to go over these definitions We might only cover one or two, but the time is very well spent. Just because it's a definition doesn't mean that we thoroughly understand that definition. So, brother, I really applaud you and really appreciate you more than I can say.
All praises are due to Allah. All praises due to Allah, Master Farad Muhammad. So thank you, sister. All right, well, we'll go ahead on and we're going to end it out. And I'd like to ask Brother Lukman if he doesn't mind to close us out in prayer.
Sir. Attention prayer. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent and the Merciful, all praise is due to Allah, Lord of the worlds, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful. Master, the day of judgment in which we now live, thee alone do we serve, thine aid do we seek. O Allah, guide us on the straight path, the path upon whom thou hast bestowed favors, not the path upon whom thy wrath is brought down, nor those who go astray if they've heard thy teaching. Ameen.
Ameen. Okay, we'll be back, inshallah. We'll be back Thursday morning, 10 o'clock. Hope to see you there. And may Allah bless you and keep you as we say assalamu alaikum.
What's there, family?
Walaikum salam.
Islam family.